confirm. I'm Kiara Rogero. I'm the psychiatrist here at Western Michigan University and the medical director at Immigrant Health Center. And I'm with my partner.
Hi, I'm Brian Fuller, the Director of Counseling Services over at City Health Center. Welcome, everybody. We appreciate everybody being here as well. And again, only answer what you feel comfortable with answering. On the last panel, there was someone that didn't need a microphone. Just if anybody knows Mike from the Rec Center, he was just put it out there. Again, very startling. I mentioned that last time, but if you don't need the microphone, don't use it. So sometimes that's intimidating in and of itself. Do we have a question? We're gonna do introductions first, but is there a question to go along with that?
How about along with introducing yourself and maybe the college or discipline that you're studying, how important do you think mental health awareness or support is for college students?
Okay. Hi, my name is Sierra Ward. I'm a first-year student here at Western, majoring in marketing and leadership and business strategy. For me, mental health is crucial. If you can't be kind of set in your mental health personally, it makes it really hard for you to be in the world and regulate. So it's so important to give yourself the love you deserve.
Hi there, I'm Dakota Shapiro. I am a computer science major at the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, graduate. Mental health, I think, especially that realm of engineering, is very important because, especially towards the senior end, there's so many projects we have to do, and if we don't take care of ourselves, we kind of grow to hate what we're doing, and that's a terrible way to start your career, is to hate what you're doing. So I think in that realm, at least from my experience as an engineering major, mental health is really good, especially the senior year.
Hi everyone, my name is Lila Stein. I use she, her pronouns. I am a junior in the College of Aviation, and much like Dakota just shared, mental health, especially in the College of Aviation, is vitally important. We are facing what I personally call an epidemic of mental health in the world of aviation. Pilots are restricted on what mental health, or pilots think they can be restricted on what mental health help they can get. That's not actually true. And I'm part of a group of students who currently trying to combat the stigma, and prove that you can get mental health help, you can be a student, you can be a pilot, you can be a full person, get the help you need while still flying airplanes.
Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Powell. I'm a sophomore here at Western. I'm majoring in political science with a double minor in African American studies and gender women studies. That is such a mouthful. I would definitely say that mental health, when I think of mental health, probably heard this analogy, kind of like, building a home or building kind of like the base of everything. And I think mental health is the base of, everything that you put yourself in doing, if that makes sense. So if the base isn't secure, there's no way anything else is gonna, be able to fulfill. So if you're not holding yourself, nothing else is gonna work. So if your mental health isn't right, and if that building isn't correct, it's gonna come crumbling down. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Giselle, and I'm a PhD student in College of Engineering. Well, maybe my colleague has or had time to think about mental health, but honestly, I am too busy and too stressed about doing what is asked of me. So I personally have no time to think about me. And the only time that I have is during the weekend, and during that time, I just stop thinking and feeling, and that is the only thing that I can do or think about. And so I don't know mental health. Yes, I know it's important, but personally, I never thought about it, let's say.
Well, I think it's a perfect segue to question 2, which are what actions that you've taken to benefit your own mental health. Kind of keeping in mind, right, that there's preventative strategies, right, before things get bad for ourselves. We brush our teeth, we don't wait till our teeth fall out of our head and then we go and get some services, right? What do we do to help our mental health? How are we proactive and how do we get decisions under struggle?
Okay, so they told me I should answer what I do. So for me, it's basically I go to sleep. I sleep for 10, 12 hours. I watch like old movies, old series, just to prevent myself to think about anything. And it's like, I know this movie, I know this series, so I don't need to think about it. It's just happening, just, and, it doesn't bother me. It's just preventing me from thinking. And that is how I can prevent myself from a full mental breakdown. But sometimes I don't know, it's too much. So I talk with my mom, with my dad, usually nag a lot. So few of my friends told me that I can seek help from professionals like you, but I don't know. I am not comfortable talking about myself and my feelings. It might be because I never done that, or because I'm too introvert. I don't know. So that's me right now.
I can agree with a lot of the points that you made, but I would definitely say, I think during my quarantine when we all got shut down and we were kind of forced to kind of reflect on self, that's when I finally got to learn of ways to, improve my mental health. I don't think before then I really put a lot of focus on it. It was just kind of, I was always on the go. I just kept moving. And if I was sad one day, kind of is what it is. But I definitely kind of learned that taking time for yourself is really important. So kind of during the week, if I say this is going to be my self-care day, I don't change that for anyone else. I tend to be like the strong friend or person everyone likes to call on for things. So I just might not answer that phone. I'm taking time for me. And I think it's okay to be selfish sometimes when it comes to mental health. And, people think that's like being selfish, but it's okay to be selfish sometimes. So I think that's really important and like what I tend to do. So
I say my favorite analogy for taking care of one's mental health is that, you pour your cup into other people's cup, but who is filling your cup? So I know personally I am an introvert, so my favorite thing to do is go run and hide under my favorite blankets and watch my favorite movies, when I'm feeling really drained and my cup is empty. But I've also learned that trusting the people around you and relying on others to also pour back into you and asking for help when you need it is absolutely crucial, especially in college. It's a very social kind of cliquey environment that can be really hard to navigate at first. I know I really struggled my freshman year. I had one really good friend at that time, and I leaned on him for everything. And now I'm really lucky to have more than one friend. But if you can get your one friend, that one person you can lean on, count on, I say you're golden because you can bounce back and forth, filling each other's cup up. So just relying on your network and your people are there for you because you're their people.
So I can definitely resonate with my other friend from the engineering college about like not being able to take preventative action. Sometimes I forget it, and sometimes I just can't. It's just not there. So usually I take post action, which is usually like, for instance, one of the things I do that like it helps me de-stress or just do something fun and not worry about what I'm doing is usually every Friday, my best friend and I, we like to go out into the woods and we go hunting for Bigfoot. We're not going to find him. I mean, hopefully we do. That'd be really cool. Talk about a breakthrough. But really, it just gives us a chance to go in the woods and scream and knock trees over and just do something dumb. So, like, if you're ever in a silent lake, like late in the night, you hear someone screaming, it's probably us doing that. Which is like something like doing something like that, doing something like that just lets you get it out and express yourself, like physically or mentally or just vocally. That's really good. It helps, at least me. That's my experience.
So I'd say your mental health is going to be, your self-care is going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different in my life. I don't know. For me, I always see the TikToks and it's like I wake up at 5 a.m., then I have breakfast, then I go work out. And it's like, that to me is a do a lot of ourselves. So for me, it's more about finding myself. And if I can like recognize the things that may trigger me in my life, or if I know this situation may be toxic, can I remove myself? Is this a class or is this something like, is this a toxic relationship? So I think balancing that and once you get to know yourself and also get to know the people around you and know how they can benefit you fill each other's cups up, but also you have to learn to remove the things that aren't benefiting you in your life, and that's okay.
Well, I was going to piggyback off of some different areas of disciplines where there might be perceived barriers or real barriers to mental health access, and maybe that's related to what your program of study is, maybe it's related to the population within your program and having a certain way of visualizing or thinking about mental health concerns. How do you reach those? How do you kind of work outside of that?
Yeah, so I'd say it kind of goes back to knowing yourself. For one person, they may love going to a psychologist and that really helps them. Or I kind of like to take it as more of a holistic approach, and I'll do that, but I'll also go and do paint therapy, or I'll do yoga, or I'll go exercise. Like, so my mind and my body are all connected as one. And I think once you find what works for you, maybe it's writing, maybe it's listening to music and just meditating. It's gonna be different for everyone. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of stigmas on social media about how you should care for your mental health or how you shouldn't care for your mental health. Learning the way you cope is really important as well, just because there's a lot of negative ways you can cope with mental health issues.
I definitely agree. And to sort of piggyback on that, like we've all heard the saying, like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's the same thing with like finding help or finding what works for you. That's supportive. Find the action. Like for me, I'm very action oriented. Like I'd like to go and do something, and then whatever benefit comes from that, I reap that benefit. So like find the action that where its reaction is most supportive to you, or find someone who acts on your behalf, and the reaction is what benefits you the most. Like what could help uplift your mental health? What things can you do, or can other people do for you that can make just the stress of life a little bit easier to tolerate?
Yeah, I think the part of your question that really stuck out to me was talking about barriers to access to mental health help. I think that's a huge one. And barriers can be in different shapes and forms. It can be monetary, it could be, socially, it could be, within a program, it could be regulated by someone else. But I think there's different ways, you can go about it. I mean, you could be like me and, be banging on the largest drum in the world, screaming it from the rooftops, like, hey, this isn't true, like, go get the help you need, but that's not everyone's style. And so I really encourage everyone to seek out the truth and seek out what you need, no matter what anyone else says. No one else is in your brain. No one else is in your shoes. No one else can tell you what you're feeling. No one else can tell you what you're going through besides you. And that, kind of sucks. You have to be your own self-advocate. And you can have, partners, you can have teammates like Dakota mentioned, getting someone that'll advocate for you, but really pushing through. And I mean, something that I will say, and I will continue to probably say for the rest of my life, I'd rather you be here on earth with us than not do that activity that is causing you to have to sacrifice yourself. I would much rather be here seeing my dog, seeing my family, than I would ever have to touch an airplane, because that airplane asked me, the FAA asked me to not get mental health help. Now, I have found ways around it. If you want ways around it, I'll give you all the ways around it. I found them. Those loopholes will get there. But the most important thing is that you are here with us regardless of those barriers. I mean, I don't know if we can cuss, but I say fuck the barriers.
Yeah, I also was going to touch on the barrier aspect of your question. I think that sometimes the way you were brought up can also be a barrier. I know I was brought up in a household where, pray about it and then it will be over with by tomorrow. Just keep it moving, keep going. But I will say that works in some situations, but sometimes that's not enough. You still need that extra support. I would definitely say in the Black community, we tend to just kind of keep moving and not really take time to reflect on the different things that we go through, the different traumas that we have going on. So seeking for that help, but also not forcing someone to go to a specific type of help, because everyone's at different institutions. Every university is different. I would definitely say I wish there was more diversity here on Western's campus for that support and that help. So I think that would make people more receptive and more comfortable with going in those spaces. So yeah, I think those all play a part into I think like Sierra said, the different types of help also, like what TikTok is telling you to do is not going to be the right answer all the time. What your mom is telling you to do isn't going to always be the right thing. So you kind of have to find that for yourself. And then, also still have people in your corner that you trust and you appreciate what they say you should do and try out. So yeah.
Okay, so as my friend over here mentioned,
how you brought up and what your country of origin is, those are really a big deal. You know, they shape you. So basically, I brought up in a way that being stressed was very usual. It was how life's supposed to be, you know, and you were supposed to deal with it and find a way. And if you were stressed or if you had any type of issue, they would call you crazy, and it's a crazy doctor. So I know it was half a century ago, yes, but there are different things. Yes, I am an engineer, and we think more logically. So, like emotionals are not a big part of, at least me. I don't know if other engineers have emotions or not, but for me, I am a more logical person. So I think first I need to understand the importance of the mental health, and then understand how I can improve that, because different things, affect you in different way. I am an immigrant. I am a minority. I am in very, very, very stressful situation. I am coming from a religious family. I have a very different view in my life than my parents. So everything is different, and I may say harder for us immigrant students who are not basically a US citizen. So some things may be really familiar for you because you heard about it from your childhood, but I didn't, and I still don't think about it. I still don't understand the importance of it. So that is the biggest barrier, in my opinion. Because if you don't understand something, if you don't realize how important that thing is, you will not go and find and fight for it. You know, you just say, "Hey, either talk about this. Okay, if I face it, I will deal with it. Otherwise, I'm okay. I can right now. I can do my job, and tomorrow I will think about it." So at least this is the biggest issue that me myself I have to overcome. You know.
What are ways that fellow students, family, friends, teachers, and WU staff can support students when they're struggling with their mental health?
Okay, I will definitely say, I don't know how to put this, but normalizing it in a lot of these different like atmospheres, whether it's with your family, whether it's our professors, whether it's with your friends, making it more as a normal thing and not so like, oh my gosh, you're having a mental breakdown. Like it's not so like random, if that makes sense. I think that if these different communities that we're in just normalize that like mental health is important, and like we shouldn't just have to have mental health weeks for people to take time to reflect and like see the different types of mental health barriers that people go through and those type of things. I think if these conversations were more frequent, we wouldn't have such a like weird feeling when these conversations come about.
Yeah, I guess the answer is different in all of those different groups. Like the thing that I guess like, the role that parents play in mental health may be, causing it more than helping it sometimes, and the role, professors may be playing, I think everything is fluid, but I guess like I can only speak from my personal experience. And I think the thing that I would say is talking about it. I exist in a culture that doesn't talk about it, that actively, negates it, that says, who needs mental health help? Like, that's for, people who are weak, people who, can't do it. So I guess like, obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, in every scenario, step one is talking about it, realizing it, recognizing it, whether that's, with yourself. Like I had a million and one conversations with myself about mental health before I ever opened up to anyone else about it. So just kind of like walking through the process, talking about it, opening up about it, talking to your friends about it. Not necessarily to say like, you sit down with someone and be like, do you have mental health issues? Because they're probably going to go, yeah, you. But making sure that you create and exist in an environment that helps other people thrive and helps others be accepted no matter what they do to walk in that door. And the step one to doing that is going to be to have the conversations, to open up the door, and to be welcoming about it.
Yeah, definitely to piggyback off of normalizing, right? Sydney, right? Yeah, what Sydney said. Leniency, especially in the educational realm. You can get a test, you can make up a test if you have your appendix taken out, but can you make up a test if you have like a mental breakdown, right? And so something that I think leads to a lot of repression or a lot of people not dealing with their own mental health is, especially in the educational sphere, not being able to really negotiate with your instructor or get something from your instructor when you're not in a good place at this moment. And then still having to, do assignments or reports. I've had, teachers where, do this by this time, no excuses, unless someone's dying. And it's like, well, it feels like I'm dying, right? But we don't care what you feel about, right? That's sort of like what gets echoed back is like, we don't care how you feel, just get it done and get it done right. And so I think like a lot of leniency there. And again, that ties it with normalizing is just allow for these types of reasons to exist. Like I couldn't get it done because I couldn't think straight. I had a panic attack. Something wasn't allowing me to. And so if we don't do that, it's just going to lead to more repression, more internalized like mental health issues that lead to more unfortunate like circumstances. So
Yeah, just to add on to what they're saying, in a professional setting, and I remind myself this all the time, I'm not a robot. Like I have feelings, I have emotions, like I'm a being. Like I'm not just meant to just come and, do everything perfectly every day, and that's okay. And if you're able to come to a place where you're able to balance your emotions and to recognize like, hey, today's not my day, shoot that email. Like I'm really fortunate to have some really good relationships that I do with my professors who have been very understanding. And it's just, hey, like today I'm not feeling it. Like I tried, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to manage my time, a lot going on, and you'd be surprised the feedback you get. And I think simply because of the pandemic, professors have their own lives that they're dealing with too, and they're wanting that leniency from their students. And so I think it really just wraps around to be kind. Like, and it's crazy because you never really know what someone else is battling with. It's like, oh, why did that person yell in that meeting? Or why did that person walk out upset? Like, they could be hurting, they could be upset and they just need a friend. So that just goes to say that just monitor how you treat people, and you could really have a positive or negative effect to someone's mental health.
Just to add a little bit, what I noticed is that our professors' mental health matter as well, but I also think they're kind of taught to always keep it professional and to kind of keep it like, this is my job, this is what I have to do. But what I have noticed, I have a professor right now that is very transparent with us, and I feel like our classroom went so much smoothly. This is probably one of the best classes I've had simply because she is so transparent. She's very real with us. She lets us know when I have this and this going on. And we still get things done though. I think people get nervous, and when you are too intact with your emotions, that you lose track of what the end goal is. And I think the end goal is to prepare us for our occupations that we want to go into when we graduate. And I still feel like I've learned so much out of this course, but I also feel like the connection I have with this professor has been so much different than compared to other professors who are always kind of like, get this done at this time, no advance buts about it, as you probably heard a lot sometimes. So I think that like, if professors also had like the mentality of, you know what, I can be transparent with my students because I know they're also going through stuff as well. I was a student at some point. And I think some of our like older professors, they probably didn't talk about mental health a lot. So it's probably kind of abnormal for them as well. But maybe if those trainings that they do have to go through talk more about, it's okay to, have your days as well. Your students will understand because they're having their days as well. So kind of normalizing it also within the classroom a lot more.
any tips if you are a professor that doesn't seem to be understanding or passionate about for mental health crisis or concern? That was a question from me.
Well, I will say this. So if you have a question or you have a concern that you don't feel like your professor is helping you, there's always someone higher. That's how I see it. And sometimes that may be like maybe even going into that person's office hours. Like, okay, they don't check their email. They're not, it's a lecture. There's 200 other kids in here going to their office hours, trying to build that personal connection. But if that's not working, it's not working. And we all pay tuition. We're all here to get an education, and that's what matters first. This is our platform, and it should be a safe space. So I just encourage anyone to reach out to their RSO, reach out to a trusted person on campus, even a counselor, and maybe they can come from that perspective. But there's always someone else who can help you.
Yeah, that's really good because the chain of command exists, and you can go up and as far as you need to get stuff done. Yeah, that's a really good question about, like, honestly, it'd be really cool if you could identify how a professor is. Like, my professor's really good. Sometimes the ratings are scarce or misleading, but actually it's a really good resource. You should use that. Yeah. But like if it's early, if you can catch it early on and sort of get a vibe, switch professors if possible. I know a lot of higher level classes usually only have one session a semester. But if possible, and it can be hard to break down and build that personal connection sometimes because, again, as the city, you said they're trained to be professional, and some of them take that to heart. They take it straight. So they'll be professional and keep that wall up to rent. So yeah, chain of command and professors.
So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have much experience in the traditional classroom with this. I do have aviation experience, so I don't know if this is completely. I'm just gonna go ahead and make the reference here. Finding an ally in the fight. Much like Dakota said, there is a chain of command, and the chain of command exists for a reason. But the chain of command is scary. Professors are even scary sometimes, especially when you're having a hard time. Right? Oh my goodness! Don't even get me started with that. No, so like I had a CFI that I opened up. I was like, it's a lot right now. Like I'm really stressed. Can we back down? Like I can't do 4 days a week. Can we try 2? Like that'll make me feel so much better. As a human, I'll be able to show up, these 2 days as my best self. And he's like, okay, we're gonna do it. And he later came to me and he's like, yeah, I had questions for my boss. He wanted you flying 4 days a week. And I told him no. And he was that ally to me in that fight. And so I think the biggest thing you can do is know that you're not alone and find your ally, find your friend. Because they're going to be the person that you can lean on. Because obviously, if you're not doing too hot, you need to go talk to a professor. Coming back at you with some questions probably isn't going to make you do better by any means. So relying on your support system.
Yeah, I agree with all the points that you have made so far. And I think a tip for like even the professors on their end, I think, well, this may be a little bit far-fetched, but even if it's required that like professors have to, I don't know, because I feel like, yeah, according to the syllabus, it is okay to put your mental health first because there's no way that you will succeed in my class if your mental health is not somewhat okay. That should be an aspect of every syllabus of every professor in the United States of America because we all, I think, are trying to push for this mental health, like there's mental health crisis within the United States. Okay, that's important to us. Let's change the way our environments are, making that a requirement. Like it's okay to take this time. I do think, like I said, I have a professor now that is kind of adjusting to what our society is adjusting to with making mental health a bit more. Older professors still are kind of old. We all have stuff going on. I better see that paper in e-learning on Friday morning, stuff like that. So I guess that would be a tip for professors to kind of move with, what this new generation's moving towards and putting mental health a little bit at the forefront other than like, an assignment or an exam. Yeah.
I just want to add, first, professors are not your enemy. It is a general knowledge. Yes, you may think they don't like you. They actually hate you because ask you so many tough questions and hard exams, but they are not your enemy. And my experience, 90% of them, yes, they are some very, very not good professors out there who don't understand the human language. But 90% of them, if you go talk to them, but early on, go to their office, talk to them. But don't wait till the very last minute, because if you have a homework and you start working on that homework from early on, then you have time to think about yourself and talk to your professor and find a neutral solution. But if you wait till the last second and then say, hey, I had this problem and I couldn't do that, and the professor may say, you had a week to do this, to write that paper. Why did you wait till the very last minute to come and see me? My advice is, before you going for a higher authority, first try to catch it very early and go talk with the professor and try to understand if it's a one-time thing or if it's a continuous. If you are not good for a week, a 2 week, then you need maybe very different solution rather than postponing the homework or the exam or something like that. But before doing anything very extreme, talk to the other person. And most of the time, they are understanding.
I really appreciate you saying that, and I'm going to just chime in for a second because I've been doing this for many years here. What that question is one that comes up a lot. What if a professor does not want to help me, or doesn't understand, there's no empathy? I mean, that's a real thing, and there are professors out there that just really lack that insight. Who knows what the reason is? But I really encourage you, if once you go to that professor and you don't necessarily get what you're looking for, meaning that empathy, that understanding, not necessarily they're going to do anything special, but just they're at least acknowledging, then I would really encourage you, and those a lot of anxiety associated with this, is to go that step further, because it's really be nice that we could identify some of those professors, maybe get some additional training and things like that, because the only reason we're here, as I mentioned this last time, is because you're here. So we're here for you, and that's why we have jobs, because you're here. And that's the same for professors. If you were not here paying tuition, they would not be here teaching. And I know that professors sometimes are really in their own mind, they have a lot going on, their own stuff. So be mindful of that. So I'm not saying be but just really try to catch it early. Talk to them. But if you're not getting what you need, please reach out to Lila Students, reach out to one of us at counseling, and we can at least walk through and lead you some of those options. Because it's real. I experienced it as well when I was years ago. I haven't forgotten some of those professors. And, they're jerks. Some are just jerks. They just don't care. That's what I thought. Whether that was reality or not doesn't matter. It's what our perception is in the moment and how we're being delivered. And so we can talk to kind of like, well, maybe they meant this way or that way. At the end of the day, if it's not really what you're looking for, please, even with all the anxiety associated, that dynamic stuff, do your best to reach out for supports, help you do that. But I appreciate it. You guys are spot on, right? You want to kind of go through that chain, but at one point, you're really not going to move up that chain. Yeah. So thank you.
All right.
Sorry. No. I might do that once in a while. I've had a lot of stuff over the years. Same with aviation. Love aviation, but there's some barriers.
All right. What WU programs or initiatives have had the most positive impact on your mental health and wellness? What kind of gems have you found on campus that are beneficial? You might want to share.
This may sound a little biased, and I think Sierra would agree, but the Black Student Union of Western Michigan University has definitely been my safe haven in so many different ways. It was the first organization that I joined last year as a freshman, and ever since then, that's definitely my family, my home, my space, my safe space that I feel like we all need. So I guess a recommendation for everyone is to look for those RSOs. Use Experience WMU, search up those different things that you enjoy, and join an RSO, because you never know how effective they can really be. Because it's like you have that organization is what you are excited about, what you like to do. So why wouldn't that kind of boost your mental health? It can be stressful at sometimes because I am on the executive board, but it's a good stress, if that makes sense, because we know our end goal is going to be monumental for someone else. So I definitely would say like RSO and those kind of things in my life have made a difference on campus.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with what you said. I think personally, probably one of the greatest tools, and I recognize that I've been very privileged to have access to it, is I see a therapist. I call her Mom 2.0. She is my venting space. Now, then again, I do telehealth back home, but I do know that Western has an amazing counseling service. I have had friends and acquaintances that have gone there, in times of need and received excellent care. So I think there is an aspect of, there is a point in which you can't rely on yourself. You can't rely on others to give you those tools, because life is all about knowing what's in your toolbox. And sometimes you just don't have the tools in the toolbox to handle a situation, to handle, a family emergency, to handle, something that's going through. Even I've had friends go through stuff and I'm like, damn, I need to go see a therapist about this shit. So just relying on those, there are professional resources. There's many different counseling spaces. I know Syndicus has one. There's one, in Sanger, and there's also therapy groups. There's stuff at LGBT Student Services. There are safe havens everywhere, and there is a time and a place to rely on those. And I know Western has many. I cannot list them all here, but I would encourage people to reach out and seek those resources from those professionals, because they know how to help you and get you those tools the best they can.
Yeah, I'd go back to the RSO comment. Yeah, RSOs. I mean, it's the people and the things you want to do. We have a lot of RSOs that have people who are similar to you, who have similar interests, or just want to have fun. We also have RSOs that do stuff that might interest you. And so putting yourself, I know whenever I put myself through something that I want to do, meaningful, that I feel is meaningful, it helps in a weird way, doing more work. It helps in a weird way. but just finding something like that, like an extracurricular, it is really good to sort of exert yourself in one way or another. That's not just deadline. It's I want to do this. It's not because who wants to write a paper, right? I mean, some people do. But who wants to write a paper on a deadline, right? Or I want to work on this solar car project, or I want to go with the Skydive Broncos people and jump out of a plane or something like that. Some way to exert yourself, just not in studies is a great way of doing helping.
So as I finished my first year, I've always been told the first year is the hardest. If you can get through the first year, you'll really start to understand yourself. Everything will kind of start making sense. So my first semester, I had the pleasure of taking first year experience with Connor Kirkpatrick and Allie, who co-facilitated. That class was phenomenal. Definitely recommend it to incoming freshmen. I'm so happy that that's a part of the curriculum, just because I got to get exposed to everything on campus. Resources and connections. And what I really took from that was one-on-one strengths coaching that I did at Ellsworth. And that really just helped me to recognize who I am. And sometimes a lot of our strengths can become our weaknesses. And so having the opportunity to sit down and be like, who is Sierra? Well, according to this test, this is who you are. And these are how your strengths can apply to the real world. So by doing that, being a part of the Black Student Union, I'm in the gospel choir. Shout out to Bernhardt Center Advisory Board and the Honors College. All have been very fundamental, and I think it's good. You may get one thing from one group, maybe spirituality from this group, and maybe just connection from another group. So explore, find what you like. I love going and visiting. I go to visit so many RSOs and just hearing people's stories. That was cool, but I'll never probably come back. Or wow, that was cool. I want to go do yoga again. So just put yourself out there, and you'll be surprised the connections you make by just trying new things.
I agree with the RSO. I am part of one RSO. It's very, very specific to my culture. I am the president of that, but I don't know if that's a good thing or not. After 4 years, I think it's more toward stressful rather than being a good thing. Because right now people think, okay, this is your job to throw this party, to do this event. And it is becoming my job. So it's becoming more and more stressful. So it's not fun anymore. But last year or last semester, I decided to join another RSO. I joined the Focus, which is a volunteering group. So that was refreshing because I could do volunteering thing without any stress. It was fun and it was very good. But what other resources are available in the campus? I don't know. Again, I am not a proactive, a person who seeks out this type of thing. And for me, it should be handed to me, as a pamphlet, as an email, as a website that I can read and, go through. Otherwise, I've been here for more than 4 years. I think I know syndicates exist and they offer free counseling, but that's it. That's the extent of my knowledge of what available sources are at Western. So that might be my mistake, my lack of, being proactive, something like that. But again, I am very introvert and I am not very familiar with the this culture, and I am a grad student, so I have so many things on my plate that I normally can not handle or handle barely. So please hand them to me. It would be way easier for me.
Yeah, in your defense, that is a gap. I agree with you, that's a gap, because we do have resources. We have WMU that talks about all the resources. We have well-tracked resources. It's just not out there the way we would like to get it marketed. So that's beyond us, but we're really encouraging you to get that out, not just day one because there's so much coming at you, not day 10 because there's so much coming at you, but consistently without trying to be, in a place where you're just like, this is making me a little bit too much.
If you could do it as part of orientation, as a one panel in the orientation. That day, the students come in, they have no idea what's here. So give it to them at that day. And then they can understand, they can expect if they have this type of stress, where they should go and who should they ask.
And not long emails. That doesn't work for me.
No, bullet point. Bullet point.
Bullet point, and sometimes they come out really long, maybe whatever form words it could be. Not so serious, anything, just to get it out there. That is a game. I don't want to take away from what you're doing your time there.
We have an amazing resource for you out on the table right outside. There's magnets that have resources on them. You put it on your fridge, you put it wherever it's stick. We even have one in the student organization center that has a push pin through it. I know it's magnet, you're supposed to stick it to metal for surfaces, but someone put a push pin through it. There we are starting to develop those resources because it is true. I just completely confess I've never been to one, WMU resource. I don't know what they are, but there are magnets and resources out there, and we want to get them to people like you, the people who don't necessarily aren't, at big events, where you're handing them out to the masses, because everyone deserves to have that access to that resource. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, because that's also a gap in the mental health week stuff. We put on these big programming, but we don't necessarily reach all the groups that need to, and we should try and do a better job at that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I think that the other smaller RSOs, or even just the RSOs that are supporting more minority groups here at Western, if they were connected more with syndicus to some of the other resources, those people would have more access to these resources, would know about them. Because we do have these big orientations and those really long emails and, the weeks that are through WSA, but not everyone is a part of WSA or is familiar with our student government, but they may be a part of just some of the other smaller organizations on our campus. They may attend those weekly meetings. So if they were at those weekly meetings and then we had one of these days where you all came and spoke to us about these resources, they would be more familiar with them just on a smaller scale. So yeah, I know this was promoted as a really big event, it's Mental Health Week. So, but some people aren't, as comfortable coming to these big events and big weeks. So kind of connecting us with those smaller, RSOs on campus, I think would be beneficial for, different people connecting. So, yeah.
Yeah, just another way of getting like information. We do know, like, just you could like walking into syndicus and asking, like, I'm sure they'll be helpful. One thing I do if no one's paying attention to me is I'll just stand in the middle of somewhere and just raise my hand, and it gets someone's interest, and then they'll come up and ask you, like, can I help you? And then you can get it. So if you really don't want to initiate it, just walk somewhere and say, hey, what's up?
But you are from Harvey campus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you know that at the end of the board, there's nothing over there?
There is nothing. Right, you're right. That's
Yes.
that's another issue, is getting information out to
So
those
if,
satellite campuses.
there is not even a, acceptable cafeteria, let alone the other resources. So whoever lives there, like us, it's like we are forgotten. That's the only thing that I can tell you.
It's a good point. I can only imagine, like, I know aviation, you guys are way out there too, and so like.
We're a whole 20 out there.
Right.
Whole different city.
I think that's a good point that you bring up, just because Western is geared towards what's going on campus. However, once your sophomore year hits, people are moving off. So only a small portion is actually being affected by this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you live off campus, what are the odds of me coming to syndicus, especially if I don't even know about it? Then how much is parking? You know, like, there's so many other different barriers that apply. But you also brought up a really good point as far as how your RSO was like becoming another responsibility. I think burnout is real, and that can take place in RSOs as well. So like I said, find an RSO to where that's just me. Voices, we just go, we just sing. Like, it's just like, it's fun. Like, we just go and we just express ourselves in that form. But find something. And Western, I think WellTrack, and there's another app called. Yes. Yes. So those apps can be really beneficial. And I'm sure you guys will touch on that more.
Just this is free to students. It's paid for, so it's free. And this is apps that will bring you other local resources that also walk you through ways to help stress, anxiety, depression. We walk through that with videos and stuff, so that's free. You just have to use a little code there, it'll bring it up. And also NWMU also has all of the stuff in one area. So, but again, it's not marketed in a way, because I even asked last time, how you could know there's like 7 or 8, so they didn't even know this existed. So if it doesn't want to exist, then why would you look for it? I mean, why would you go down that route? So we have to find a different way to do that, because there's so much resource information out here with all the RSO stuff and all of that as well. And what's available. But like I said, you don't know. You just don't know. So you won't just go look. It used to be everywhere. It's still kind of everywhere. And that's problematic, and that's hopefully helps with this. But there's still other stuff that will be coming up with this as well.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to kind of combine the next 2 questions. I think we're already segueing into that. Is, putting ourselves on a performance improvement plan of like, how can we be better able to help students meet their mental health needs? How do we, redesign programs? How can we change things to approach mental health different? I think we talked a little bit about things we're changing individually, changing culture is going to be important, right? Particularly in programs where that culture is more ingrained, that's not encouraging students maybe as well as they should to access care. What kind of programs or changes would you like to see? How can we better serve students?
Yeah, so I think we talked about this in one of our BSU meetings about the online trainings, the empathy trainings online. Having something like that in person, I know COVID was a barrier itself. Having something like that in person in part of the curriculum, I think is really beneficial. What's the thing where you go in the corner and we did that orientation? I can't remember. It's part of the sports program. Me and you, all that we share. That was really phenomenal. Doing more things like that, and it should just start at orientation. It should just be first year we come. We learn about diversity. That's the workplace. That's corporate America. That's business. That's life. Those are the things that we need to keep pushing. It shouldn't just be your first year. It should be your grad program where you're doing these experiences. Because if you can be if your mental health is strong and you're a full human, you're appealing to the workplace because you have empathy. We're not robots, we're beings.
Yeah, I guess not having that drop off as you get into, that's a really amazing point. Not having that drop off as you as you're a first year student coming in and becoming a second year student, or even transfer students. I was a transfer student. My experience was like definitely not the same as the first years coming in. I didn't feel like I was the priority like first students were. And so I didn't even know about a lot of these services. I don't know what that is. Yeah, like, I know.
That's the point,
Right. Like I didn't know what that is, you know. So I think like, yeah, keeping a regular like check-in, almost like, I know there's so many students, but even having like people that sort of check in, like departments, getting departments to start checking in on their students, you know, it's like, hey, even if you have to send out like a blind carbon copy like email to a bunch of people, like how's your mental health, even to a bunch of people just to see what they say back and see if there's anyone you can respond to would be great. Because I know like undergrad seniors or PhD candidates and students and whatnot, just a lot of work, you know.
I just want to add real quick on the strategic. I know we're talking about the strategic plan coming up, and when you look at retention rates, you know, we put all of our attention on freshmen, but then after freshman year, what are people doing? Dropping out. So, you know what I'm saying? It's great to put it on freshmen. You know, we need it, but, you know, okay, we're not sophomores, so where's the help? Like, where are the resources? It comes from having FYE first year or first semester, and then you're like, oh, this is spring semester. What do I do? Like, so having that transition and the longevity throughout your experiences at Western.
Yeah, we've heard that sometimes freshmen forget some stuff.
Yeah, I think one thing, especially coming from with my, you know, just my aviation hat on, not even my association, like, you know, with WSA, like there is not a lot of stuff that makes its way to the Battle Creek campus, and I'm sure the engineering campus feels the same. You know, just showing up in these different spaces, like I am sure that there are probably 200 aviation students out there dying to talk to someone, figure out how they make use of it. They're just not on the main campus because all of our campuses are out in Battle Creek. So showing up consistently, repetitively, you know, with those resources, with that information, we know it is here. I know it is here, but other people don't know it is here. And also supporting students who are doing the work is huge, because there are students out there, like, you know, I'm a committee of 4 that is like actively, you know, engaging in mental health stigma pushback, you know, and showing those support for the students who want to do the work, you know, showing up in the communities to RSOs that may not traditionally have those kinds of resources. I know at a conference they talked about like an adulting 101 series, where they showed up and, you know, taught kids how to do like the very basics of things, like, you know, whether that's like how to, you know, sign up for a counseling appointment. Like the NDQ system is not very intuitive. Like I've gone through it and been like, I did not get where I need to go. Let's backtrack, right? Yes, let's backtrack. And I've just called before, like, can you give me this appointment? I can't figure out how to do it. Just like getting those resources out to students, you know, whether that's, you know, 2 or 3 people whose job it is to show up at different RSO meetings, because we would love to have you. Like I would love to have you in for an aviation RSO meeting, for you to be like, here's the resources, here's how you can get, you know, this help, but it's just not there. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, reaching back out on the student ground level.
Yeah, I would also say that like the class of 2020 that came in last year, we didn't even have a traditional Bronco Bash, which is like, you know, big on introducing us to these different, you know, resources on campus and things. So kind of reiterating to these classes that kind of lost a lot and didn't get to engage as much on campus would really be beneficial, I think. Even just doing a survey. I know a lot of these resources, I recently found out about them, but it was because of my RA training, and I'm supposed to, you know, I gathered all this information in 2 weeks to get to my residence, but like it would have been easier to grasp that information if I had learned about it a bit more my freshman year, but that wasn't really as accessible because everything was virtual and everything was just, you know, weird. So I would definitely say that like kind of reiterating all this information and not having it just make everything into it that first day or that first week, you know, orientation, meet this group, you know, meet the, you know, kind of pushing it for like throughout the year, kind of introducing it, because we want us to be here all 4 years or even longer, whatever your, you know, track is, but like we should keep, you know, the information, so we should all, you know, just keep refreshed on what's out there for us, whether I'm a freshman or even a fifth senior, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah.
I agree with all my friends here, but I just can add that you know your student a little bit better, you know, because freshman meet is different than sophomore, junior, or grad, master, or PhD, and different culture, different background, even different color of skin may be, you know, may make you a different totally different person, a different mindset. So probably the best thing is for you to know your audience, you know, what your students need. Because me as a grad may need different things as my friend over there as a sophomore or as a junior, you know, and my point of stress might be very, very different. And that's, but you can find a general thing, you know, for immigrants, for grad students, for Black students. These are usually have something in common. And if you know those, you may probably can cover a huge type of students. And it's not very specific, but it's specific enough. So the student does not feel like it's a pre-screened email sent to them, so they skip reading that. That might be helpful.
And then, because I guess our topic right now is kind of like how do we, you know, become better and like have these resources more acceptable. Well, we in Black Student Union, we always push for like, you know, our students to go look for the help. We put you guys' information out all the time, but some of the feedback we get is, well, there's not a lot of diversity within, you know, the different therapists or social workers that I could talk to and work with. So I think that would also make a difference for, in all, not even just for Black students, all the different races that we have on this campus, have there be someone, or more than just one person too, that can support these different groups and things. So I think that will definitely make a difference, especially if we're going to push for Western to be this diversity and inclusive campus. These different aspects of our campus need to, you know, reflect that as well. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and we are very mindful of that each time we hire. So yes, we're very mindful of that. We totally agree. So, and that's been part of the hiring process of the show, always been, but definitely the last 10 years is really giving that the face and county services, let's say, to look similar to that face. Which I think you're saying, yeah.
But I may say, face is not important. At least the other person should understand what I'm coming from, because you as a white person may feel different as me as a non-white and my friend as a Black person. So that thing changed drastically when I am coming from outside US, and my culture is different. So if I talk about my family and my relationship with my family, you may not understand that, may not even, you know, you may say, okay, this is abusive, this is not healthy, but it is very usual for my culture and I'm used to this. And then I cannot talk to you because you don't understand it and you cannot help me. Although you want, but it's like we don't have any common ground. So if you are hiring someone, at least make them culture, I may say, so they can understand others, not only U.S. citizen. And I know Western is planning to be more diverse, so understanding other cultures are very important.
Absolutely, I appreciate you saying that. Those are questions we have to do the interviews, because it's important we learn as well, because we don't know, right? We're not walking in those shoes. So we allow you to teach us along the way, so we can then help during that process. And that's what all therapists that we have should be able to do. So we do ask those questions. So we always welcome that. That's how we learn. Seriously, that's because we know, always, I know very little, let's put it that way, unless they're helping you in that process. So I appreciate that.
That's a really good piece. At the business college, I attended a meeting from Next Up Network, a group of women. It's a business organization. And I heard something that really caught my attention. And it talks about, you know, we push DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. But in their mission statement, they added B, which is belonging. So, you know, it could be diverse, it could be equitable, and it can be inclusive. But if I don't feel like I belong on Western's campus, or I don't feel like I belong in at Syndicus because, you know, no one's understanding where I'm coming from, you don't see me or my culture, that's the piece that I think Western sometimes can work to administer, all students should feel that they belong. And then I think everything else will follow.
I'm gonna run out of time here. I wanted to thank you for all of your candor and vulnerability and sharing your experiences. Is there any parting thoughts? I think hopefully this will encourage some students to reach out and to peers, to professors, to staff, to resources.
Yeah, I'll just say, choose you. Like, it can be so simple, but some days it can be very, very hard. It's great to be a giver. It's great to be there for other people. But once you show up for yourself, you'll just see how it's like, wow, now I can really, be a benefit to people in the workplace. Take that time for yourself. Like, I don't know, we have to remind our friends and encourage those around us that we are valued, we're important. And when we don't feel like that, there's resources who can help us remind us of that.
Yeah, I think to join in on a topic that we talked about earlier, don't be involved just to be involved. Like, do it because you want to. If you're involved just to be involved, that's when the stress kicks in. That's when it gets unenjoyable. That's when the mental health issues come in. I know I've had that issue myself because I like to be involved, but sometimes it's not worth it. But yeah, that's my parting.
It's something I try and tell myself each and every day that I'd like to share with you guys, is that you are loved, you are valued, you are wanted, and I'm really glad you showed up and showed up here today.
I love that. I would probably say that no one can advocate for you more than you can for yourself, because you know what you need, you know who you are as a person. So I know that can be easier said than done, but it's okay to speak out, even if it's just like a friend. Even they can help you speak on what you need and where your support is needed. So just put yourself out there when you need to.
I can only say that the thing that helped me is I do remind myself that this will pass eventually. So everything will come to an end. So I just remind myself that over and over and over. And sometimes I need to push, to force myself. But that's a good thing. That could be a good thing. So if you need a push, force yourself, and remember, nothing is forever. So even if you're having a bad day or bad week, this will pass.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming.